What if I told you that $194 trillion in global cross-border payments just got redirected through infrastructure that didn't exist 6 months ago? I'm not talking about another bull run or some speculative crypto narrative. I'm talking about the actual plumbing of global money, moving at speeds that make Swift look like dial-up internet. And here's the kicker: China activated it first. If this is your first time here, I break down institutional-grade crypto opportunities with data-driven analysis that actually matters for long-term wealth building. Smash that like button if you want more content like this, hit subscribe, and drop a comment, because what I'm about to show you might completely reshape your investment thesis. Let me set the stage. 2 years ago, if I asked you whether China would open its cryptocurrency markets to the population within 5 years, you'd laugh. Zero chance. Completely banned. But something shifted in the last 18 months that most people completely miss because it didn't come with headlines or press conferences. It came through infrastructure activation. I spent 3 weeks going through central banking reports, ISO 20022 documentation, and transaction data that would bore most people to tears. But buried in that data, a picture of the global financial system undergoing what might be the most consequential transformation since electronic settlement replaced paper checks, the $2 trillion digital yuan reality. Start with this number. By September 2025, China's digital yuan, the ECNY, had processed 14.2 trillion yuan. That's approximately 2 trillion US dollars. But here's what makes that insane. That volume nearly doubled in just 14 months. In July 2024, they had only 7.3 trillion yuan in cumulative transaction volume. That acceleration tells you everything you need to know about adoption velocity. The wallet count is equally staggering. 2.25 billion digital yuan wallets are now active in China. Let me put that in perspective. China's total population is 1.4 billion. That means there are nearly 2 wallets per person. The PBOC didn't announce this as a major achievement. It just happened quietly while markets obsessed over whether Bitcoin would hit $70,000 this quarter. In 2024, the digital yuan processed 8.2 trillion yuan in transactions, a 42.6% increase year over year. The transaction count hit 24.25 million, up from 2023. This isn't experimental anymore. This is operational infrastructure handling billions in daily transaction volume. The most telling detail: physical circulation. The PBOC distributed charge cards preloaded with ECNY through 10 banks specifically to serve populations with limited digital literacy. That's not a pilot approach. That's infrastructure designed for universal accessibility and long-term adoption. 7 seconds changed everything. Now let me tell you about the moment that actually flipped the switch. October 2024, Abu Dhabi. A payment for 50 million AED, about $13.6 million, moved from the UAE to China. Transaction time, 7 seconds. Total cost to settlement, nearly free. Contrast that with traditional SWIFT transfers. 3 to 5 business days, routinely hitting 6 to 7% in fees as it bounces through correspondent banks across multiple time zones. This happened through Project mBridge, a multi-central bank digital currency platform connecting China, Hong Kong, Thailand, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia. It reached minimum viable product status in mid-2024 and immediately went operational. By October 2025, mBridge had processed over 1.2 trillion in cross-border payment volumes. The real jaw-dropping part? Fees dropped by 98% compared to traditional channels. A 98% fee reduction fundamentally changes the economics of cross-border commerce. Shenzhen completed a 68 million yuan trade settlement through mBridge in August 2025, effectively instantaneous compared to the 3 to 5 day clearing window that SWIFT requires. This integration across 16 countries now covers trade routes representing 38% of global commerce. ASEAN announced that 90% of intra-regional trade will settle in digital yuan by 2025. That's not accidental. That's strategic repositioning of the entire region's payment infrastructure. And here's where it gets wild. China announced it would support digital currency bridge with all 10 ASEAN countries. The PBOC expanded SIPs, their cross-border interbank payment system, to 1,700 participants across 180 countries. In the first half of 2025 alone, SIPs processed 12.7 trillion. By September 2025, it had reached 189 countries. That's parallel financial infrastructure processing trillions. While Western finance still argues about regulation, the universal language everyone's overlooking, here's something almost nobody talks about, but it's absolutely critical. ISO 20022. This isn't exciting terminology, but it's the technical skeleton holding up everything I'm describing. ISO 20022 is the global messaging standard that lets financial institutions communicate payment instructions consistently. The Federal Reserve's Fedwire adopted it on the 14th of July 2025. But here's the November deadline that actually matters. The 22nd of November 2025, this month, SWIFT's coexistence period with legacy messaging formats ends. That's not theoretical. That's the global financial system forcing a mandatory technical migration. According to the European Central Bank and Deutsche Bundesbank, ISO 20022 underwent formal upgrades in August 2025 that added native support for digital tokens, tokenized units, and blockchain wallet identifiers. Translation: for the first time in history, the global banking system's core messaging infrastructure now natively recognizes cryptocurrency as a legitimate financial instrument. That's not some fringe blockchain adoption. That's the central banking establishment formally acknowledging digital assets. As of January 2025, 1.6 million ISO 20022 payment instructions were being processed daily. Only about 40% of SWIFT banks are projected to complete migration on time. That creates operational gridlock for institutions that don't finish. Banks that haven't migrated face disconnection from flows that literally power the global economy. The stablecoin explosion you've been sleeping on. Between January and July 2025, stablecoins processed 4 trillion in transaction volume. That's an 83% year-over-year increase. When researchers filtered out bot trading and market-making activity, actual payment transactions reached 9 trillion annually. That's 5 times PayPal's throughput and exceeding 50% of Visa's annual volume. Monthly stablecoin transaction volumes in September 2025 hit 1.25 trillion, adjusted for real payments. That's happening right now. Real merchants accepting real stablecoins for real goods and services. In February 2025, stablecoins processed 6 billion monthly for real-world transactions. By August, that number jumped to 10 billion monthly. That's 66% growth in 6 months. For remittances, specifically, money that migrant workers send home, stablecoins offer something revolutionary. Traditional remittance fees to developing countries range from 6 to 8%. Sub-Saharan Africa averages 8.5%. Turkey to Bulgaria exceeds 50% in some corridors. That means 750 billion in annual remittances collectively lose 52 to 60 billion just to fees. That's not inefficiency. That's extraction from the world's poorest populations. Stablecoins eliminate that. Near zero fees, seconds of settlement time, direct wallet-to-wallet transfer. That's not a feature. That's financial liberation for a population that's been systematically overcharged. Total stablecoin market capitalization reached 166 billion by June 2025. Tether and USDC combined represent 87% of that supply. These aren't speculative assets, they're money. Digital, global, programmable money, operating outside government control but regulated through stablecoins themselves. And you guys, I have a special trick for you which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BuyDefi exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus. And now stay with me here. Now here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange and you move it to your newly created BuyDefi account, you get on top of your capital. You moved another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, if you move or deposit $10,000 to your account, you get a $1,000 for free. And here is why this is possible. BuyDefi makes money on trading fees. The more capital you have, the more you trade. The more you trade, the more they earn. So they're literally investing in your trading activity by giving you extra capital up front. And unlike other platforms where bonuses are in the 1 to 3% range, BuyDeFi's bonus is a full 10%. I am not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody is doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I kindly ask you to pause this video and take your time to make an account. You can thank me later in the description of this video. All right, let's jump back into the video. 4 assets built for this exact moment. Now, here's where I tie everything together. While retail traders chased meme coins in 2022 and 2023, 4 specific cryptocurrencies were architected for exactly this infrastructure transformation: XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC. XRP, through RippleNet, processed 1.3 trillion in quarterly volume by Q2 2025. Ripple expanded to partnerships with over 300 financial institutions across 45 countries. More importantly, 40% are actively using XRP for cross-border settlement through on-demand liquidity. ODL eliminates the need for pre-funded foreign currency accounts, reducing transaction costs by 40 to 60% and settlement times to 3 to 5 seconds compared to Swift's 1 to 5 business days. In the Philippines, Union Bank and China Bank implemented ODL and reduced transaction times from multiple days to minutes. In India, Yes Bank and Axis Bank streamlined remittances to Brazil and Mexico. In Latin America, Travelex Bank Brazil cut foreign exchange costs by 40% using XRP tokenization. This isn't theoretical. This is operational banking infrastructure replacing correspondent banking in real time. After the SEC's August 2025 settlement confirming XRP is a commodity and not a security, institutional adoption accelerated. BNY Mellon became the primary custodian for Ripple USD. SBI Holdings signed an MOU to introduce RLUSD to Japan by 2026. Ripple applied for national trust bank charters from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. That's infrastructure positioning, not speculation. Stellar's XLM emerged as the financial inclusion layer. Stellar processed 264.6 million transactions in July-August 2025 alone. With sub-second settlement speeds and transaction costs of 0.00001 per transfer, Stellar captured PayPal's integration, MasterCard's crypto credential framework, and developed partnerships with IBM's WorldWire for real-time settlements. By September 2025, XLM's market cap exceeded 11.5 billion, with 71 million tokens trading daily at peak. Mercado Bitcoin issued 200 million in stablecoins on Stellar for Brazilian remittance corridors. Coins.ph in the Philippines leveraged Stellar infrastructure to serve 40 million unbanked users. That's millions of real people using these networks for actual payments. Hedera Hashgraph positioned itself through enterprise governance. Its council expanded to 33 members, including Google, IBM, Boeing, Deutsche Telekom, LG, and Standard Bank. This governance structure eliminated governance concentration risk. No single entity controls the network. Hedera processes over 10,000 transactions per second with near instant finality and minimal energy consumption. BlackRock partnered with Hedera to tokenize its money market fund. Goldman Sachs and BNY Mellon followed. That's trillion-dollar asset managers choosing Hedera's infrastructure for bringing real-world assets onto blockchain. XDC positioned itself for trade finance. The platform acquired Contour Network, originally founded by HSBC, Standard Chartered, BNP Paribas, and Citibank, and launched a stablecoin lab for trade pilots. Trade finance represents 19 trillion in annual asset value with grotesquely inefficient processing. Letters of credit take weeks. XDC enables digital letters of credit executing in minutes once shipment confirmation hits the blockchain. Smart contracts automate workflows, reducing processing times from days to minutes while cutting costs by eliminating intermediaries. The institutional money moving now. Coinbase research shows 80% of institutional investors plan to increase crypto exposure during 2025. Blockchain and crypto startups raised 3.8 billion across 220 deals in Q1 2025 alone, double the 1.9 billion raised in Q4 2024. 60% of Fortune 500 companies are actively working on blockchain initiatives. Nearly 1 in 5 Fortune 500 executives identify on-chain initiatives as central to long-term corporate strategy. That's a 47% year-over-year increase. SMBs are adopting even faster. 34% of small and medium-sized businesses now use cryptocurrency in 2025, double the 17% from 2024. When surveyed, 46% of SMBs without crypto report planning adoption within 3 years, with 82% citing specific financial pain points cryptocurrency addresses. Bitcoin institutional adoption in 2025 alone saw $12.5 billion in inflows in 8 months. That's exceeding all of 2024's institutional capital. JP Morgan Research in September 2025 noted that crypto institutional adoption appears to be in early phases, suggesting massive capacity for expansion. Real-world asset tokenization, the quiet revolution. Real-world assets have tokenized to a value of approximately 24 to 30 billion as of 2025. That's grown 308 to 380% over 3 years. More importantly, market projections suggest tokenized RWA could reach 16 to 30 trillion by 2030 to 2034. BlackRock's BU Double Fund pulled 1.7 billion. Franklin Templeton tokenized bond and money market fund shares. Goldman Sachs and BNY Mellon launched tokenized money markets. These aren't future possibilities. These are current asset managers delivering tokenized products to institutional investors right now. Standard Chartered Bank projects 30 trillion by 2034. BCG estimates 3.2 trillion by 2030 at 49% compound annual growth. McKinsey projects 2 to 4 trillion. The conservative Ripple BCG model forecasts 18.9 trillion by 2033. 200 active institutional RWA tokenization projects now exist with 65 billion total value locked. That's an 800% jump from 2023. Digital asset custody infrastructure expanded across JP Morgan, BNY, Mellon, and Fidelity. These aren't retail experiments. This is institutional fiduciary capital deploying into blockchain infrastructure, the pattern that makes fortunes. Here's what I've learned from studying every major technology adoption cycle over the past century. Infrastructure builds silently during disbelief. Institutions adopt during skepticism. Then suddenly, seemingly overnight, mainstream adoption explodes. Cryptocurrency user penetration globally just crossed 11% in 2025, up from 7.41% in 2024. Historically, technologies experience rapid acceleration when they cross the 10 to 15% threshold. We just crossed that line. The evidence isn't subtle anymore. 42 countries have aligned CBDC regulations with ISO 20022 standards. Every major global payment system has either migrated or announced migration. 100 financial institutions have partnerships with Ripple for XRP integration. mBridge transitioned from experimental to operational. Real-world asset tokenization expanded 1,300% from 2023 to 2024. You can feel it in the way institutions are moving. Ripple signing new corridors, Hedera landing government pilots, Stellar integrating fintech networks, XDC bridging trade finance platforms. They're not competing with each other, they're completing each other. Together, they form the digital nervous system of the new financial world. The calm before the flood. This is the moment, not the explosion, the synchronization. The November 22 deadline hits. Institutions delayed on ISO 20022 migration face operational exclusion. China's digital yuan infrastructure, already processing 2 trillion in transaction volume with 2.25 billion wallets distributed, connects deeper into ASEAN trade routes representing 38% of global commerce. BRICS payment infrastructure matures, offering alternatives to dollar-dominated settlement. And 4 cryptocurrencies sit at the exact intersection where 194 trillion in annual cross-border flows meet programmable, instant, ISO 20022 compliant settlement infrastructure. When that liquidity wave hits, when institutional treasury departments realize blockchain settlement is 40 to 70% cheaper and 200 times faster, the speculation phase dies and utility wins. The flip already happened. The switches are live, the rails are operational, the money just hasn't moved yet. If this woke you up to what's building beneath the surface, obliterate that like button and drop a comment saying you see the infrastructure. Subscribe right now, because when that November 22 deadline hits and institutional corridors activate at scale, the next 8 weeks are going to separate those who positioned early from those who realized too late. This isn't financial advice, it's financial awareness. The era of programmable money just went operational, and you're watching it happen in real time.